Hello, and welcome to another live stream for Quake Champions. My name is Tim Willits, and joining me today is Adam Pyle, our
Hello.
lead designer here. We have a lot of stuff to cover today, so let's jump kind of right into it. So the immediate focus for everyone, all our fans, is the patch that went up yesterday. And there are some things that are worth addressing immediately. So we've had some small issues with the patch, and we are working on fixing them. The first issue was some performance problems that we had with folks that had a ton of followers. So we pushed out a back-end fix for that, probably like, what, an hour ago?
Yeah, there was a temp fix that kind of alleviated the problems until we can get our client fix out.
Yes, yes. So if you had a lot of followers or you're following a lot of people and you notice that your performance was impacted, try it right now. It should be fixed. We pushed something out for a back-end fix that should address that. And then we have the crash fix, the crash issue. We believe we have identified that problem. We are receiving a build. Hopefully, we'll have the build wrapped up by the time we're done with this.
Yeah.
Yes?
And then we've got to go test it. But we're going to just do some quick tests, try to verify it, and then we're going to get it out as a hot fix.
Yes, yes. So if it passes our smoke test, we may be able to push it out tonight, or we'll look at maybe tomorrow. But we just have to get it in our hands. But it hasn't really affected, that crash hasn't really affected a lot of players. Same with the follower issue. It hasn't really affected a lot of players, but it has been noticed. So again, we did a back-end fix, that we pushed that out. That should fix the performance issue. This hot fix that is coming as quick as we can get it out should fix some of the crash issues and support that back-end fix. Anything else immediately that we need to talk about before we dive into everything with that hotfix?
Not with that, no.
Okay.
No.
All right. Yes. So so we are reacting as quick as possible to the update. So today, our focus, of course, will be on the big update we had this week. But before we get into that, I want to cover some things that that we're working on. As a reminder, we are still in early access. This is the best time to join us, especially if you are a Quake fan. Because you get in the ground floor, you get to help us test, you get to help us with feedback, and by buying the Champions Pack, this will be the cheapest the Champions Pack will ever be, and you'll get all the champions forever. So now's the time to join us, and then we have this weekend, we have the
Qualifiers?
Well, no, the double XP weekend.
Oh, you're talking about the double XP
Yes,
weekend. Yeah,
yes.
we have double XP that's already started. That's going to be going through the end of the Sunday. So everyone hop in. It's a good time to get in, get experience, level up, get additional chest.
Yes, yes. And then our big news, of course, is DreamHack in Denver. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So the first DreamHack coming up is DreamHack Denver. We have a dual tournament there, 16 players. We have a sacrifice tournament with 4 teams. We have teams that have been, or teams and players that have been invited to the event, and then we've been running qualifiers for people to fill in those other slots. There's quite a bit of money still up for grab, and so it's exciting. Yeah.
Yes. So anyone that for duel, anyone that you're looking at, anyone you have your champion behind. I know Claus is not in it. Apparently he had school. That is what I was told. So who's going to take his
No,
spot?
I have no guesses this time, actually. I mean, we had so much hot talent last time that was not just that did well, but we had a lot of upcomers and surprises that I don't know, and we just put up the update. That's going to be interesting to see how the next couple weeks pans out, because there's going to be the fun term to throw around is there's going to be some meta shifts where people start trying new things. We've already seen it quite a bit. Going up to the update, there were we got to a point where in duel, especially everyone's picking Sorlag, everyone's picking Nyx, and there weren't many other random people thrown in there. It seemed like people were solidifying certain teams. And right now, you look online after the update, and the lineups are very varied as people are trying to figure out what the balance changes have done. and so it'll be interesting to find out where that lands by by the 20th, by the end of the month.
So you think Vu has a chance, or do you think that he climbed to the top for second place at QuakeCon, and maybe Raph is going to come back?
Well, Vu has a great chance. He did well last time. His characters that he prefers, Anarchy and Sorlag, are still really good, but both of them received some minor nerfs, whereas other characters received buffs. So we don't really know how they'll pan out yet.
So we'll talk about some of the champion changes later in the stream. So what about teams?
Yeah.
So the teams are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So
we have some of the same players returning with different teams, different lineups. Some players were unavailable for Denver, and they filled in with and got kind of some swaps, and it's really interesting lineups. Liquid still looks strong. Dehang, Rafa are still there, but now they have Waz and KGB. iTotem Telly's had a really challenging qualifier match. It was really impressive, and they pulled through and looked really impressive. Europe is still always amazing talent.
Yes.
It's not surprising. Like Team Stacked is pretty stacked. They dropped Sturmy, replaced with Too Good, so Noctis Faz, Toxic, and now Too Good. So that's a really strong lineup. And then WinRAR has been doing really well. They also had a really good qualifying match where you saw just really good performance from Bus Driver and Sparty and Lith and Jews. Juvenile did great job, is really impressive. So I think that it's kind of hard to know who's going to come out of that.
So you think the Euros are the ones to beat again? You know how I love the North America versus Europe thing.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't.
Okay. All right. So anything that the viewers should pay attention to? Anything that you are interested in seeing at the event?
No, I think that everyone should just be really watching these pros as they stream, leading up, kind of watch the practices when they're streaming them, see the performance, see how they're kind of creating strategies, and I think that'll be really exciting when you go into the actual event, seeing how that all comes together.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, watch it all on our Twitch channel, Facebook, and YouTube. Are definitely the places to check out all the action. Of course, you can get news from our site as well. So if you don't know when the qualifiers are coming, just go there and you'll have all the information that you can find. So, patch. The big patch that we had this week, it covered a lot of things. Really, for us, there were three main focus points. Rockets, netcode, and balancing. That is the stuff that that everyone has been talking about. Of course, we had more things that we changed, adjusted, and improved in the patch, but really Rockets, netcode, and balancing. That's what everyone cares about. So let's first talk about Rockets. So the Rockets, the response has been that they're feeling good. They're hitting their targets. But talk about how we're going to take the analysis from the Rockets and how they act and apply it down the road.
Sure. I think the important thing to understand with this update and how we're moving forward is that the Rockets are basically our first test of how we're going to handle projectiles moving forward. So, rockets are greatly improved now. We're seeing, really good performance. See that they're hitting, that they're really powerful, kind of affecting the weapon balance even. Where now we understand that rockets play an important role in the gameplay as far as you can be really aggressive with them. And right now those changes have only been made to the rockets specifically.
Yes.
So the nail gun is still on the old behavior. So the nail gun isn't great in where it needs to be. Same could be said for a lot of the ability projectiles as well. So Diorb, Sorlag's Acid Spit, basically anything that's shooting a projectile is still on the old code because we have so many changes for the rockets that we need to test them, evaluate them, and make sure that they're how we want before we roll all that code over. So our plan moving after October is to start taking all that code and then move it over to our other projectiles and unify that so they all behave the same way and behave really well.
Yes. So the key thing here is pay particular attention to the rockets. Make sure that they're feeling good. Make sure that you're happy with them. We're going to talk to our pro players. Talk to the people that give us feedback. And once we're happy with those, then we can take that and we can apply it to the other projectiles.
Yeah.
Again, one of our philosophies with updates and changes is, make a change, test it. Make a change, test it. If we change everything all the time, it really becomes more difficult to understand how that change affected the game. Rockets were the biggest thing that people complained about. Everyone jumped on that fire. We feel that they're in a good place, but we need that validation and we need that checked, and then we can apply those to.
And we need people to keep playing it and keep giving feedback because, like coming out of the update, for instance, some of our other performance issues have caused clients or servers to stutter where they can't see the full effect of like the rocket fixes. And so now that we have like that hotfix coming out, and we have that back-end fix that helped address it. Once we get past that hotfix, please keep playing, keep giving feedback on rockets because a lot of the stutters will go away, and then as you play, you can see how the rockets perform.
Yes.
Because that's right now is hindering a lot of people, and that's a problem. So once we get past that, get past performance issues, then really play a lot, play with the rockets, try to give feedback.
Yes. Again, the stuttering issue should be mostly addressed with the back-end fix, and then we're going to support that fix we're going to support that change with the hot fix that should come out hopefully tomorrow. Okay, so netcode, the big bucket. That is netcode. Again, when you play a multiplayer game, anytime that you have an issue where you rubber band or you stutter or you have a frame rate drop, people throw it into the bucket of netcode. So when we talk about netcode, it's this kind of bucket of client and server performance and how it affects you as a player.
To be fair, like half of the netcode like fixes and changes were actually the rocket fixes.
Yes.
Because that's adjusting how that data was handled across the network between the client and the server and reconciling those. So a lot of the netcode fixes in this update were rocket related. We still had some other ones in there. They were probably more minor, but we did see some improvements on the outgoing bandwidth. There's some optimizations there that were mainly dealing with kind of condensing and kind of optimizing some of the like the animation of bones data that's sent. It's probably getting too much in the weeds.
Okay.
But it does reduce the amount of upload bandwidth that we had that was going that could saturate people's pipes that they had, like a 1 meg connection or something small. So there were some benefits there, but we'll see most of it, I think, kind of the future as far as we continue to optimize that.
Yes, and then the memory fixes, which we had an issue that if you play consecutive games, you eventually, will stack your memory, which then led to some stuttering, led to some performance, which then people applied to netcode. So we have some fixes that gone in to help address some of the memory load and that kind of optimization, so that may feel better for matches that you play over a long period of time, which isn't necessarily netcode, but it's the overall experience that is improved. And then there was just a crash fix for some of our clients that was addressed. So hopefully people that have that issue, besides the new one, if the random issue that we had before, that should be addressed as well. Yes. Okay, so the big stuff. Game balance. One of the things that we're always asked is, how much do you listen to us? Us, the fans, we give the developers feedback. How much do you listen to us? And we listen to you a lot. But remember, everyone's opinion is very different, but we do look for trends, and we look for kind of what the majority feels, and we can see shifts and things like that. So we put a lot of balance changes into the game. Adam worked very, very hard for a long time working with John Hill, the pros, Saber, So let's talk about some of the big ones, and then we can talk about some of the specific champion
Okay.
balances.
Well, the biggest thing that wasn't related to champions or weapons was probably the health and armor change. We switched over from having the pure container system to going to where we have like 25 health, 25 armor for the small pickups for small health and light armor. There's still a little bit of a container element in the sense that we have the UI so that you know, how much you need to pick up to get back to full. But besides that, we kind of went back to more of the traditional fixed values. That was something I was always
Yes.
willing to do, but what we wanted to do previously was see the previous system through, have it implemented. And it wasn't until early access that we got not just the system, but the UI for the containers to actually be complete. And so once we launched with early access, we had that container system. We saw that there's still feedback the players wanted to change, so we absolutely were able to get it in for this update, and that was great. So I know the response has been pretty positive,
Yes.
so we'll probably be keeping that. There's still some tests going forward as far as item times that we'll be playing with that will also affect kind of health and armor balance. But that was a big positive win, I think, for this update.
Yes, so some of you have asked about the auto weapon switch. So you can turn that off. So if you're watching the stream, you probably do not need auto weapon switch.
Right.
But what we found looking at the data is that a lot of our newer players that came into the game really struggled with switching weapons. They would find weapons in the game and they would not switch to them. So that was a setting that we had by default years ago for really the same reasons. So we put that back in. So if you run around and you're auto switching to weapons, don't freak out about it. Go to the menu, turn that off. You'll be fine. But for our new players, it really does help them. But don't stress about that.
Two other major changes we had as far as balance goes is that we affect the lighting system so that at a distance you could see whether it was a teammate or an enemy much easier. It both made them easier to see in general, and then also the color identification was easier. So at early access we implemented where if they were, as they got further away, they became brighter as a solid color. They started to turn blue, started to turn red. And so one thing we did was we made that happen at a closer distance, so now they don't have to go as far away for you to identify the color. There's also a very thin kind of rim light around them for you to see that red or blue sooner, even right up close. They have that. That helped a lot. We also changed the auto outlining distance so that if enemies started to approach you, they got outlined sooner so that you could identify that someone was coming to attack you. I think those were good changes. And then, yeah.
Well, we got so we received some questions about, with these changes now we made it, we filled the screen up with stuff that is hard to see. I mean, so what we're going to do is we'll look at what we currently have, we'll gather the feedback, and then if we need to, we can make adjustments. But we do feel that with the bigger hit detection indicator, this outline, the change in the color, it does actually, it really does help. But if we've gone too far and we feel that we need to pull it back, we always can. We just need to, like I said, test, evaluate, and then make changes based on that.
I think the lighting on the characters is good. I think everyone views that as an improvement, but there's a lot of stuff in there that I think as we go through the end of the year, we're going to need to go do cleaning passes where we reduce a lot of the effects, clean it up, tighten it so that you have better contrast. You can see the enemy and see the teammates, and we'll do that work. Just right now, there was obviously the focus on just hey, rockets and netcode need to improve. So, yeah, through the end of the year, we'll do that.
So Anarchy.
Yeah, Anarchy. Anarchy, we did a couple things. The one on the changelog was that we had updated the lean animations so that if you strafe one direction for a long time, he'll still lean significantly. But if you're just going back and forth between left and right, it used to kind of wiggle back and forth, toddle, and the hitbox was doing the same thing because it was matching the animation. So he's really hard to hit. So now if you're just doing that real fast, he basically barely moves. So that makes him much easier to rail. People seem to be responding well to that as well. It seems to be working. We'll continue to kind of see how that works out, look at the stats and see if, make sure that he's not over nerfed from it or make sure that we're okay. Another change that was on there in the build that I think got clipped out of the changelog on accident, so I want to make sure that everybody knows, is that now after he does his injection, there's that 5-second period where he has a speed boost.
Mm-hmm.
During that time, you cannot pick up the cooldown hourglasses. So
okay.
It used to be before that you could do the injection and immediately pick them up, which would help build that time back so you could do it again. There's a little bit of delay, so he cannot pick up cooldowns. Now that's pretty standard for a lot of the other champions. Like the way we do it typically is that if you're doing ability time, you can't reduce your cooldown during that. And so we just extended that over to him as well. So that's one thing that will be a slight nerf.
Okay. So BJ, when we released BJ originally, he was
Super overpowered.
And then we made some changes, and now people are like, he's underpowered.
Yeah.
Do we feel good about where we are now?
Well, we feel way better, but as I'll explain probably with like a lot of these champions, we kind of identified like where we wanted to take them or where we wanted to go, and then we don't bounce all the way there. So like if we know that we may add 25 health and armor to a champion, we may not add it right now, and so we do small things. So like for instance with BJ, one thing we knew as of like the summer is that his armor stack was lower than a lot of other middleweight characters. But we didn't make that change this time, and we may not necessarily make it next time either. But like what I'm pointing out is that we knew that he needed to be taken so far, and we just did a small change. So the small change we did is we started increasing the rate of fire for the slow weapons, because the slow weapons, the rocket, the rail, were just not good choices with his ability. Like he's great with lightning, he's great with machine gun, and the nail gun, with super nail gun, you can tear people up. But like you were making a mistake if you hit the active ability, did the dual wield, and then you pulled out 2 rail guns, because you're still really slow. So we sped those up a little bit to make them actually kind of like viable. We're in a much better place now, but I think that he may still be a little weak, and we'll spend the week, like the next month, like kind of monitoring that. There's a couple ideas we have, but we'll see.
So clutch. So remember before QuakeCon, there was the clutch debate. And yes.
I mean, clutch got really powerful. We were worried that he was too OP. I think he wasn't as bad as a lot of the community feared he was, but we did want to respond to that and make sure that we didn't end up in like a QuakeCon where only one champion mattered.
Yes.
So he got a nerf. There was a swap of the health and armor. He lost a passive that kind of protected him. What we did this time is we gave him a little bit of health back. We still didn't do the swap because one of the things that before, like during regionals, is that we did the swap because he had the exact same health and armor stack as Sorlag, another heavy champion. And we wanted to have our different heavies have like a different stack so that there's some diversity there. And there's a little bit, it's more interesting because the more that they are the same, if you have all the stats the same, then there's less kind of room to play with different strategies. So one thing we wanted to do is like, he's a robot. We wanted to always have him have like more armor than health because that kind of fits the character. So he still has more armor than health, but we gave him a little bit more health so he can survive. I think that taking the health away during regionals probably hurt him even more in Sacrifice than did Duel. So now he's pretty healthy, and I think that he can do well. It's really unknown. Like he could end up being super powerful right now. Not as much as he was.
Yes.
Like, he could end up being like really strong. But I think it's more likely that he's just going to be good, like an actual reasonable pick. But I don't think he's going to dominate the scene. So, the interesting thing I think is about the drill, though. The drill was one of those things that we implemented and people thought was kind of useless. They couldn't get many kills with it. It was hard to understand when to use it. Like you really wanted to use it on an enemy that was really far away, like that they were running away, and you try to tag them as they go. But we made it where you could only walk when you had the drill out, so you could kind of just kind of slowly use the drill. And the game is so fast and people move so quickly that they'd get off your screen and it was kind of useless. So we took away the speed penalty, so you can kind of move at full speed. You can run, you can chase people down, you can dodge while you're doing it, and that makes a big difference.
Yes. So speaking of characters, Sorlag, she has been a hot topic, and talk about what we did with her.
Again, pretty subtle changes, but we'll see how the impact is. The main thing is that we took the delay from the time that she spits to when she can fire, and we extend that. It's almost twice as long. We took it from 600 milliseconds to a second. And so before, you can start to fire about halfway through the spitting process now. It kind of does the entire spit animation, and then you can fire, which is what people have been asking for. And so we wanted to make that change because that's kind of where she was before early access. Back in the summer, at the beginning of the summer, that's about the delay we had, about a full second. So that should put her back into being a good champion, but not overpowered. We'll see.
Yes. So speaking of Sora lag, we do have an issue with her right now.
With the spit.
With the spit.
So,
and we're going to fix it as fast as possible.
We have a list of several issues, like 5 kind of big hot topic issues that we want to address as soon as possible. One of those is with Sora lag. If you're at a distance from your opponent when you do the spit, it does like a double damage, where each glob that hits them, instead of doing 25, you'll see 2 pop-ups of 25. That's not by our design. We absolutely will get that taken care of. We'll have to just get in the fix. It's not in this day's hotfix because this was just working on the crashes and the back end contact issue for the presence. But we'll get another hotfix out there with some of the gameplay stuff.
I was playing a match before this, and somebody backed up to spit at me.
Yeah,
I was just like, okay,
and that may have been why
you're gonna die.
Yeah,
yes.
I mean, it probably wasn't noticed as much before because in gameplay it's much more beneficial to do it up close.
Yes,
because then you're more likely to hit all of them, and so you'd see the kind of the gameplay meta with her was to wait for an opponent, kind of set a trap, have them come in your view, and then try to spew on all of them and hit everything, and just do tons of damage. And now people are learning that you can kind of do it at a distance. It's much harder to land, so it's less likely to be a real problem.
Yes.
But it just melts you.
Yeah, I could tell he did it on purpose.
Yeah. So we'll get it fixed. The other little nerf that she got is that the damage over time from the acid doesn't do as much anymore. It does 7 per tick rather than 10. Doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it does decrease it from like 50 damage that can deal down to 35. So it will definitely matter, and so I think that those 2 things combined will kind of put her in a better place, and we'll see how it goes. And
then we have some small fixes with Doomslayer, Scale Bearer, and Visor, but again those are on our release notes. Not really affecting as much of the gameplay as Sora.
No, the Visor one will be interesting. I think that a lot of people are talking about Visor because no longer announcing the VO makes it a complete surprise. And that was definitely affecting gameplay, where people would hear the VO and just stop moving, and then Visor couldn't do anything about it. He might run towards them, but by the time they ran over there, the time would run out. So I think this will really help the gameplay.
Yes. So weapon balancing.
Yeah.
Nailgun, Super Shotgun, and Tri-Bolt. Let's talk about the Tri-Bolt first.
Okay.
So what? Because there's some mixed opinions of the Tri-Bolt out there.
Well, yeah.
I like the Tri-Bolt.
Well, I mean,
you like the Tri-Bolt.
The Tri-Bolt, I think it's a great weapon, but it got to a point where it wasn't very effective, and we've tried different things. And so I think before this update, we knew that it just wasn't being used as much, and it wasn't good. I think the big problem was that you had to hit people from a real far distance, and then basically switch away. You needed to shoot the Tri-Bolt, and then hope that they hit, and if they didn't, then you switch over and you'd be ready with another weapon. Because if they were running at you, then at close range, the Tri-Bolt was terrible.
Yes.
So we made a couple changes to the Tri-Bolt, but we also have a couple coming. And I don't think it's going to be a great weapon until we're done with the next update, honestly. So this update, what it did is we made the bolts a little bit more visible, which really kind of ties into the second part that you don't know about yet. And then the first thing we did is we made the bolts explode immediately on contact with enemies. So the great thing about this is that now it's viable at close range. If someone's running at you, you can just shoot them point blank, and they will do immediate damage. Because they do 50 on contact, that means you do 150 if you hit all 3. That's very significant. Before, you could hit them, and it might do 10 on that initial hit, but they would live long enough to kill you. So, now it's good up in close range. I think that if I can go ahead and talk about what we're doing with it, the intent is that the next changes we'll have in is that when they hit the ground, they're going to now stay on the ground longer. But at the same time, if you run over them, they'll explode. So one of the reasons why we made it more visible, so that it's very important that you know that they're there, because they'll basically turn into landmines a little bit, so that you can use it for area denial. Right now,
because when I'm going towards even armor,
Yeah.
I'll just lay a couple of those down before I get there.
And that's a good thing to do. But it's such a short time. It's kind of like a rocket, where
Yes.
you see a rocket coming in, it hits the ground, you wait for it to explode, and then you move in. We want the tri-bolt to last a little bit longer, so you can't just immediately move in. So they're going to stay on the ground longer, and you can't. It's denied. You can't go there, and then if you were to run over it, they'll explode.
Yes.
So I think they'll be in a much better place. That way, it's kind of good for close distance and also for area denial.
Yes.
So they'll be better.
Yes, 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 and that should. So we're going to look at the changes now, gather feedback, and then the next major update, we'll push that through.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to talk about the nail gun and the super shotgun, or is it just small?
Just quick. I mean, the nail gun, not much to say other than it wasn't being picked as a starting weapon. We saw a lot of people picking shotgun, a lot of people picking machine gun. So we increased the DPS just to make it a better pick.
Yeah.
So one kind of fun thing is that because of some of the weapon or the champion balances, the heaviers might be a little bit better now. At least some of them. Scalebearer got a buff. Clutch got a buff. And so maybe more people may want to pick the nail gun because the nail gun will be really effective at hitting heavies.
Yes.
So, but the big thing really is the super shotgun. Super shotgun, a lot of people had problems with it. They said the spread was too big, so it was doing very little damage. And so more people actually prefer the starting shotgun. They pick the starting shotgun, then never pick up the super.
Actually, I'd see people avoid it.
Yeah, they'd avoid it. So we didn't increase damage, but we narrowed the spread so that more pellets will hit your enemy.
Yes.
The thing you need to know is you need to aim really well. If you aim well at them, then more pellets will hit. If you miss the aim, you're more likely to miss more pellets. So, before, you were getting really bad kind of mid to low range damage. Now you'll get really high damage or very little.
Very little. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yes. The lightning gun is the same.
Yep.
The gauntlet is the same, even though we have an issue with it where it currently does multiple hits, which we will address.
Quick takeaway is lightning gun is a powerful weapon. We don't want to touch it because we want to instead make sure that we improve all the other weapons first. We want rockets to be really important in the game. So fix the rockets, find out how much the rockets impact the gameplay before we do anything like touch lightning gun. I'm never going to be a big fan of dropping the damage. I'm making that very clear. There's other things we can do that we might do to the lightning gun, but there's no plans on touching it right now. We really want to just get the other weapons in a better place.
Yes.
For the gauntlet, there's a lot there. I don't really mind the 75 damage. We could always go down, but the bigger issues are it hitting too often.
Hitting it twice.
And hitting at too great of a range.
Yes.
So again, let's fix those things first. So we'll take a look at making sure that range is better, works for all the champions, and get rid of the bug that's causing it to hit more often than it should, and then we can reevaluate whether 75 damage is too much. The thing I do like about the 75 is that the weapon's actually viable in the game. People use it and it's fun, whereas it was a very rare thing to use in Quake 3. I know that made it kind of a really kind of fun humility moment where you kills him with Gauntlet.
Yes.
But it was such a bad decision to use a Gauntlet
Yes.
in previous Quake games that I kind of like that it's a real weapon.
Yeah. I was playing against Doom, and he was running around with the gauntlet.
Yeah, it's too powerful now, but I like that it's something you can use.
Yes. So one of the changes that we talked about in the last video, one of the issues that we had was the rail shot and rail trail. So we forgot to put this in the build notes, but the team did some work on basically lining up the trail with the shot, because if you remember, if you moved within the same frame that you shot, your shot and your rail, the trail and the shot would go in different directions. That's been improved. So if you use the rail a lot, make sure you take a look at that and give us feedback if you feel that has been improved as well. So what's coming up next? We'll talk briefly about what's coming up next, and then we'll get to questions. I know that we've been talking about balance for a long time. So we are working on a roadmap. We are kind of planning the rest of this year, that we're looking at next year. Just so everyone knows, one of the overall focuses of the team is ensuring that new player experience is good and ensuring that we have, good feedback for our players. We'll look at ways to, clearly show some of the challenges that you have, some of the rewards that you'll get. Again, if you're a hardcore Quake player, it's easy to find the challenges, the rewards, you know what you're doing. But if you're new to Quake, sometimes that can be a little intimidating. So the team is kind of focusing on making sure that we provide the information and build an experience for new people to come into our game and to have a good time. So so we will we'll work on the roadmap. We'll get that out for everyone, so you all can see kind of like what we're thinking and where we want to take it. You want to talk about the dual map and hint at the new champion? Hint at the new champion?
I can't hint at the new champion.
Okay,
They told me not to.
I'll hint.
Okay,
we have
you
a
can,
we have a new champion coming up, but we're not going to
Yeah.
tell you who it is.
Yeah, but I can talk about the dual map.
But you talk about the dual map.
I can talk about it pretty much at full, right? So,
Yes.
we have a dual map that's going to be coming up. I know that people are really interested in getting another dual map into the map pool because they want to at least have 5 in there. The new dual map is an orthogonal map, so it's like that metal labyrinth, kind of like Lockbox. It is very vertical. It's a smaller map, but it's kind of unforeseen how fast it will be yet. We need to get out there and see whether it plays like a fast map or not. There's a lot of inspirations I kind of took. It's a entirely new design, but there's a lot of things that like were kind of dear to my heart that I was thinking about when I made the map. So it kind of has some like echoes of like Vertical Vengeance, Furious Heights, even like some elements like Lost World. But it's a very kind of vertical stacked map. It has 3 main rooms. With one of the rooms being like a deep kind of pit that has the railgun. I didn't put any rocket, lightning, or rail ammo on the map anywhere, and so you have to return to those weapons to always restock on them. So even if you're trying to like control like the heavy and the mega, and you're going back between those 2 other rooms, you have to still continually go back to that 3rd room and go really far out of position, go down low to get the railgun.
Yes, this is an Adam original. And I think the whole world is very excited to.
Well, I'm excited to get out there and get people playing it.
Yes. It's definitely a fun map. I think it'll be well received. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And we are looking at getting that out before the end of the year.
Yeah.
Yes, we will. That's what we're looking at. So one of the things that we put in our build notes, this header called the Gore system, and we've had a number of questions like, what's the Gore system and why do you have a header for it? So we'll outline some of this in our roadmap, but we are looking at improving the deaths. Hopefully soon we can show some videos of what we're planning. We briefly talked about some of that even in the tournament making of videos. We kind of showed what we're looking at. So we are planning on making the deaths more enjoyable. One of the things about every Quake game is it's violent fun. And jibbing people and blowing them up and that type of experience we want to make as over the top and cool as possible. It's one of the things that's very unique to Quake, and we want to steer into that. So we have some cool things that we have planned for that. Maybe we'll have a Ask Me Anything with one of our artists. That'd be fun.
Get Sheen on here and talk about the Gore.
Yes,
be good.
Yes. So should we get to some of the questions?
Yeah.
So we have some questions that people had sent in earlier. So we'll get through those quickly, and then we will. Brandon will pull up some of the questions that you all are putting into the stream right now. How much does player feedback influence your decisions on Quake Champions? A lot. But like I said. We do listen to our players. We listen to our fans. People have different opinions, but we've gotten good, I think, at seeing kind of the trend and where things are drifting.
I mean, we definitely listen. It's like we're everywhere. I mean, we have multiple developers that are reading Reddit, Twitter, Bethesda forum, Twitch chat, Discord, every day. So we see all that feedback. We love finding out what people think from the updates. There's a lot of times we know that there's changes we need to make in the future, and sometimes the community like kind of chat and Discord will just kind of like validate that and say, yeah, we really need to get there. We need to fix this, and we know that. But in general, like they still like it's so vital to have people talking about it that it definitely has a big impact on
Yes.
What we do, what we focus on, and our direction.
Yeah. So continue to send your feedback in. Continue to talk. You may not get everything that you want, but the voices are heard. Another question that we get a lot is, what things need to happen in the game for us as developers to feel that the game has reached the level that we want it. So as Adam can tell you about Quake Live, the game is always in progress. It is always improving. But for us, we want to focus on making sure that the netcode and the experience that you have when you play is as solid and as responsive as possible. We want to ensure that you can get into a match quickly, you can have a good time. This game is an intense, fast, over-the-top arena shooter, and we have that. So our focus during the early access and this beta period is to address the issues that we have, make sure that we get the balance for the champions and the levels and the weapons where we want it, make sure we have the technical issues all ironed out, and then, like I said, try to make the game as appealing to new players as possible. And and I know that has a challenge in itself. But once we hit those things, then when we feel the game's ready, then we can move out of this early access beta period and then into kind of like the full game experience. Anything you want to add to that when you feel that the game will be ready? It's never ready.
Yeah, no. Well, there's just two big pieces to me, and that's like there's the core like performance and feeling, and then there's just like a whole bunch of features that we want to introduce to the game. So there's more than just get into a match and play an arena match.
Yes.
So I just want the whole package.
Yes.
We know where the game's going to go, and I want us to get there. So there's a lot that I want to see come into Quake before I feel like it's done.
Okay. So another question is that we can spool up servers anywhere in the world. What decisions do we make on that? Again, we look at players, we look at feedback from those territories. We look at ping times, and then we constantly shift. Like we may start a server up in part of the world, see how it goes, and then move it around. So we're constantly looking at that as well. Oh yes, so weapon remix or change weapons in Blood Covenant. Do you feel that we do that?
No, they want it on Lockbox, the way that we did it on Blood Covenant.
Oh, sorry.
Which is something that we're gonna do. Just we haven't been able to focus on that right now.
Okay.
So like with this update again, like all we really cared. Yes, there were art things that got produced, but all we really cared about was Nightcode and Rockets. On the mapping side, like I've been focused on getting fixes for the existing maps that are out there. We had like a lot of map fixes that went out with this update. There were a lot of like seams and holes that either were exploits or just didn't look good. We got those fixed up. That became the priority. And then we have the new dual map that we're about to roll out. So that was a big priority, like on my end, like get that thing done. And so just moving forward at the end of the year, we'll be looking at like what we want to do with Lockbox to remix the items. I definitely know what I want to do. We just haven't done it yet.
Okay.
So.
All right. One of our fans, Axiom Impulse, always sends me lots of questions. The lore section for Elder Gods.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the lore and Elder Gods?
Yeah. So just like we did with the champions, we have created a whole set of lore drops for the Elder Gods that kind of gives backstory into them and different little tales. Looking forward to rolling that out. Right now, we kind of are holding on to it because we want to make sure that everyone's happy with the lore system we have. So right now, we know that there's some changes we want to make. We want to see how both this update is received, but also we have plans on what we can do with it in the future to change it. So maybe you don't get it from pots anymore. Maybe there's another mechanic, or maybe we implement a different way through the pots. So there's a whole bunch of stuff we're talking about now that we'd like to try. And then once we have that, I think, settled, then we'll expand the system, because I don't think it's a good idea to add more lore drops until we know that it's what we want. So we're going to fix that system up, make it a little bit better, make people real excited about it, and then we'll introduce the Elder God lore drops.
So one of the changes that we made for the lore system is that if you find a lore scroll, you have to complete the match in order to have it. Because we had some people that would get into a game, they would basically hunt for lore scrolls and then quit out, and that wasn't a great experience for everyone else. So we created the lore system and the lore drops to really make the completionists happy, but to also give people that may not always win a match something to look for, something to strive for. So
if you can't make it in the top 3, even it'd be fun that you still got the lore scroll.
Still got the lore scroll,
and so that makes that whole match kind of worth it on a certain level. Just kind of like getting that great shot. But even that great shot that you get requires skill. So if someone can come across the lore scroll, that's just a fun moment.
Yes.
So try to build little fun moments for everybody.
Yeah. So if you pick up a lore, don't quit out because you lose it. Stay in the match. So let's move to our questions that we have from the live stream. Yes, we are live. The last stream, someone complained that we weren't actually live, that we were pre-recorded, but we are live. All right, Adam, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Predator asks, are there further changes planned for the hitboxes? Is it still possible to shoot between legs, especially Sorlag, causing rails and rockets to miss? So there are still major changes to the hitboxes. This update was not the hitbox change. So we're shooting for like one of our next major updates to switch over to that new hitbox system. There were definitely like small improvements that happened this time, but it was not the big shift to like the animated mesh that we've talked about. So there was basically you can't shoot under the legs of any of the characters right now, but still there'll be a kind of a major change to the hit area when we move over.
Yes, because it's too accurate.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, right now it probably requires. It's kind of it probably requires more skill than it needs to. People would almost rather just have a general hit area of I aimed at the model, I should get a hit. So we'll move a little bit more in that direction.
Yes. So Ender2K asked, about dual maps. We talked about that, but he asked about ranked play. Ranked play. Yes, Adam's over there smiling. So on our current roadmap, we are working really hard to get it in this year. There are some things that we may need to adjust, but it is very important to us. We feel it's important to know where you yourself fall in the skill rankings, and it's something that that we're working on currently right now. All right, you take the next one.
Super Lord X, are the Strogs related to Shub-Niggurath? No. They're not at all.
What about the Scrags?
Well, Scrags, yeah. I mean, the Scrags, so we just added Scrags to Blood Covenant. I've made it a mission to introduce as many kind of Quake 1 monsters and Lovecraftian kind of creatures to our map environments.
He loves the lore.
I think it adds so much to it, feeling like it's a part of a world, so it feels like the world's bigger than it is, just these little tiny arenas. If we could ever do anything with them in the future, that'd be great, but like my main goal is to like improve the visuals, kind of make it fun, give a little bit of theme to it, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, because people like to fight in an area that has context, and they like that you put a little more effort into the setting, into the world, and it just gives it more context.
Yeah.
Yes. Fluxer1, what thing is your #1 priority right now? Fixing the netcode. Yes. Again, that's a big bucket, but it's important for us that your experience when you play is smooth, solid, and responsive. That is key. So that is our #1 priority. That's why we kind of pulled back in releasing a lot of these content updates, because we don't want you, our players, thinking, why are you guys releasing more of this when I need that fixed? So we're focusing on fixing the quality of life issues. That's very important to us.
Copy Paster asks, why can't we combine lore skins with other? Some of the champions that are out there, when they had the bug, it looked like you could mix and match, but other champions like you absolutely cannot. So when we wanted to make the lore skins, we wanted to make them like the best skins we could and have the freedom tech-wise to do what we wanted.
Yes.
And so with everyone split at the around the neck and at the waist, it was a little bit limiting to have that exact same seam on the lore skin. Like if you wanted to have like a coat or a gown that extended from the upper torso to the legs, it was really difficult to keep that seam that we had for a character. So they are still divided into 3 pieces, but with the lore skin, we got to choose where that seam was.
Yes.
So some champions like absolutely cannot mix and match. You would have big holes or be sticking through, so it's just not possible. It was one of the design decisions we made so that the lore skin could look the way they do.
Yes, we wanted them to be, because they're hard to get, and we wanted them to look really cool.
Yeah.
And we made the decision, and we debated it a lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we always knew there'd be some skins that we'd make that would be like full pieces that you could only wear as the set. And that's another part of it is like, if you're getting the lore skin, you want to be able to identify it as the lore skin.
Yes.
Like it's not just a piece.
Yes.
You want to know that that was the lore.
Yes.
So I think that it works well being one piece.
So Jurassic Fire asked, why is the Doom 2 Super Shotgun not center view? Because I'm not a big fan of center view. I'll be honest. Sorry.
But I'll make it centered.
But but it looks so good the way it is from here.
I mean,
we always debate about this.
We'll talk about this, but I mean, I'd rather get weapons that were originally centered eventually be centered.
Yes.
Whether that happens with the Doom Shotgun, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But But that's how we start with our Quake ones as
Yes.
well. Like the Quake rock launcher got started off on the right side, and then we eventually centered it. So my answer would be that the game's not done, and we'll see what happens because this
Yes,
is
we can always change
This
it.
is a big work in progress. But
Yes.
he likes it on the right. So I mean,
It's all right.
There's a lot of people that want an option. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yes. So, Jugs 1, Halloween cosmetics.
Yeah,
Yes. Halloween's coming up fast.
probably too fast for us this year.
Yes. Because the focus is quality of life. What I said.
Yeah. I mean, we are working on like holiday content for like events. Like we want to do that, kind of support that a bit in the game. Halloween's probably too like fast approaching for us to hit it this year, I think. And so we're making content for like next year for the most part.
Yes. Yeah. It's just again.
Like once the game's live, then we'll support everything. As far as like once we launch, but here in early access, we need to focus on what's important. And
Yes.
so right now our focus really is performance, rockets, netcode, all that.
Yes. I lost track of where we were here. Ascoli in
There you go.
3.3. Yeah. Why can't we choose the texture quality when we only have 8 gig of RAM? Can you allow us to choose the textures we want? What's the plan for that? I can't remember.
I don't really know. I mean, I know what the issue is.
Yes.
But right now, like,
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't
if you
it
don't
hasn't
have
been a
it-
big problem.
well,
for us.
it's there's a certain memory required, and we can't just let you like if you don't have enough memory, like force it lower than we have right now.
Yeah, because the game
But,
won't run.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we do have that. We do have minimum memory requirements. It hasn't really been an issue for us. I know that when we start to push into other territories that are more emerging markets, we may look at some things. But again, our focus is getting the fastest, most responsive, solid game. And then if we need to eventually, figure out how to get it to run in lower end systems, I don't know. It hasn't been a big issue for us. That one's bolded. It's
Bold
for you.
me.
It has your name on it.
Oh, they're asking about the Schroeder's nail gun. So the question will kind of get outdated, but I want to explain why the nail gun sometimes has 2 simultaneous trajectories. And what they're getting at for the people that don't know the issue or the behavior was that like if you fire at an enemy and then you move away, like the nail gun will fire at the enemy and hit. Versus like if you fired and moved towards the enemy, then it could kind of take the second trajectory towards the enemy rather than not. And I think I got explained that right. But basically, there's just like a between the 2 frames, it's deciding whether it's like kind of favoring like the client or not, because there's a little bit of time where it's trying to decide like did it fire here or did it fire with the animation, and in general like it favors the client to try to give the better experience. Some of that stuff is just going to change completely because like I said at the beginning, we're figuring out all the rocket behavior and then that's going to roll to other projectiles, and so nail gun will basically act like a fast firing rocket.
Yes,
So-
and that should fix itself.
That'll go away.
Or adjust it. Yes. Scale Bear wants to know: do you think it's the real Scale Bear, or do you think it's someone who's using
No,
this?
it's the real skill bear.
Is it a real Scale Bear? Yes. Any update on zoom sensitivity? When you zoom in your FOV, when can we expect this to be added?
So one of the major things we're working on in October and also in November is we've kind of called it like quality of life. In addition to like the primary focus of like your net kind of performance things, we're trying to get in a lot of quality of life things in there, which are just features, client settings, things that have been missing from the game that players want so that they have a better play experience. So one of those things has been zoom sensitivity. So that's on track for being something that we integrate soon. Right now, we're just trying to figure out like our update schedule for like when the next update is coming out. So I don't know when the zoom sensitivity is going to land yet, but that's one of our big priority things for client options. We know that everybody wants it. Also, just even in general, like when an update comes out, a lot of people, whether it's placebo or not, like will think that like that the sensitivity and that build change, and sometimes it's a matter of just like all the performance being a little bit
Yes.
different. And this will allow them to tweak it. So if they feel like the zoom sensitivity is off in that update, they could even tweak it a little bit.
That's what you're saying.
So it's important to have.
Yes, yes. All right, we have a funny one here from Mitch Zabich. To me, he says, I'm bald too. Can you give me a reliquary to help the cause? Brother, God made a few good heads. The rest of me, he put hair on. So I think you're good. Yes. Brandon's back there laughing. All right, Adam, you take the next one in the 5 minutes we have left.
Okay. When we can see raw mouse input and max FPS command in game options. So max FPS we already have internally for like an update that will be coming out. So that's on its way. The raw mouse input we don't have yet. It's really just it's something that we want but isn't important to the immediate kind of like tech needs. It's like we need to, basically the people who be working on raw mouse input are the people that have to be focused on network code and a lot of performance. And so that's the priority. And we can look at the mouse input later. But the FPS stuff like that, that's some of that was already existing code that we just had to roll into like the UI.
Yes. We have a spectator question, which I can talk about something else. Magic 652 said, the delay after death when inspecting a sacrifice makes it difficult to watch. Will you fix it? Make it switch to the killer instantly after the kill. So, which this reminds me, this question reminds me that we have a spectator bug currently in the game where it doesn't show the kill in spectator mode and immediately switches.
Yeah.
So we'll address that in the next kind of content update that we have, which should be hopefully soon. But the team is looking at spectating improvements in general. Like Adam said, it's that quality of life kind of polish push that we are looking into, and we have some ideas that we learned a lot from watching the Quake World Championships and the qualifiers about things that can make spectating easier, and regardless of what game mode that we're spectating. So there is a list of things that the team wants to get to. It just all comes down to priority. We need to make the game solid. We need to fix the issues, and then we can get those quality of life improvements.
You want to roll through all these? We have time.
Yeah, let's do two more, and then we'll do some recapping, and then we'll wrap it up. So you pick the next one.
We have chat restricted. Why didn't you do anything about the lightning gun blooms in this patch? Really, would like to have been included in this update, but it was really just a matter of time. Like we didn't have enough time to get that piece done and tested properly. It seems like all the art and the UI stuff takes a little bit longer, and so it's just hard to get it out within the next update cycle. So again, we know that there's a lot of bloom, and we talked about how we need to clean a lot of that up. So we'll get to that.
Yes. Yeah. All right.
Sooner than later.
One last question before we run out of time from Magic 652 again. Are you going to make a big armor red? Please do that. Yeah. Well, so this is the issue. We wanted to color coordinate items to make them easier to identify, especially at the speed at which you play. And historically, yes, we made these armors that were different colors and shapes and things. But in general, players associate kind of pillars of things with color. So we felt that for the overall experience, sticking to those, this is the color for armor, this is the color for health, actually makes the game a little easier.
I mean, my experience from going to events like E3 where there's a whole bunch of players that are new to the game they're playing, it actually made a big difference for them to understand that, just green is armor and blue is health and what items to pick up. If I had to sit there and explain every color and how the fact that the best armor is a different color than the best health, so that the color doesn't even mean that it's the best one, that's really confusing for people. I know that Legacy for players, they understand it and kind of have that ingrained in their head, but I think this is better for the bulk of the players. Yes.
All right, so one last question, because someone made it bright in red for me to see. Depolar says, Humble Bundle monthly update is up. And you said you would never get the Champions Pack cheaper, but the monthly subscribers just did for $12. Anything to say about that?
They didn't get the Champion Pack.
No.
No, the Humble monthly gave you early access It gave the game, and it gave some stuff in there. I think they got Ranger and BJ. Is it? But
Is it?
They
No.
didn't get the champion pack.
No.
So that was still correct. Like, we're not going to discount the champion pack from what we have in early access. There's no cheaper way in.
Yes, yeah. That, I mean, again, buying it now is the best time to do it. All right, let's recap before we get thrown off the stream here for running out of time. Big patch went out this week. We understand that there were some issues. We did a fix for the back end, which should address a lot of stuttering issues and performance issues that people saw. So try that. We are rolling out a hot fix as fast as possible. Hopefully it's finished downloading by the time.
Tomorrow.
Yes, but and that will hopefully address one of the crash issues, which we're not really seeing a lot of, because we looked at all the stats. But that will support that backend fix that we just put out earlier today to help fix that stuttering problem. So so again, like Adam and I have been saying throughout this whole talk, play. Get us your feedback. You know, we do listen to it. We can see the trends. We can see where people's opinions are moving. You know, because together we can make you know, this game really great.
Yeah.
Does anything else you want to add?
No, just keep playing, keep giving us feedback, and thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks. And you guys have a great day.